Across the distant reaches of the galaxy, the name human was whispered with a mix of fear, disbelief, and curiosity. In the grand halls of alien empires, diplomats and generals spoke of humans as a minor species, one that had barely survived their own planet's struggles, yet had repeatedly shown flashes of extraordinary cunning and resilience. Stories told of impossible victories where humans had faced far stronger enemies and survived against all odds. Most aliens dismissed these tales as exaggeration, legend built on hope and rumor. Yet in quiet corners of the galaxy, there were those who listened with a shiver, sensing that the truth of human power might be far greater than anyone imagined. On the frontier world of Virelia, the Alien High Council convened. The council chamber was a vast structure of crystal and metal, its surfaces reflecting the pale green light of the nearby sun. The leaders of the planet's military and intelligence divisions gathered in tense silence, each waiting for another to speak. The whispers of human power had reached them again, this time backed by reports from scouts stationed near the outer sectors. Ships had disappeared without a trace. Outposts had been sabotaged with precision that no known alien force could match. Communications were being intercepted by unseen hands. "We cannot ignore this," said High Commander Siler, his voice deep and resonant, echoing across the chamber. His many eyes scanned the room, landing on each leader in turn. "The humans, they are becoming more than a myth. We must act or we will find ourselves unprepared." A murmur spread among the council members. Some nodded, accepting the warning, while others scoffed, dismissing it. "They are a small species," said Ambassador Trell, waving a slender arm dismissively, "scattered, unorganized, and primitive in technology. The stories are exaggerations, fear-mongering by border worlds. We have nothing to fear from humans." High Commander Siler's gaze hardened. "Primitive? You call them primitive? They survived the planet's most deadly conflicts, conquered starvation, disease, and disaster. And yet they endure. Their fleets may be small, but their strategies, they are unpredictable. That is what frightens me. And now the scouts report that something is moving, something we cannot fully detect. We do not understand it, yet it strikes with precision. Do not underestimate them." Despite the warnings, the council remained divided. Some leaders began preparations quietly, increasing patrols and reinforcing outposts. Others continued to argue that the humans were too insignificant to merit concern. They did not realize that humanity's patience and long-term planning had been underestimated across the stars for centuries. Far from Virelia, humans were quietly readying themselves. On Earth, the planetary command center thrummed with activity. In vast hangars, engineers and pilots moved through their routines, testing ships, calibrating weaponry, and reviewing tactical simulations. The fleet was smaller than some alien empires might field, but it had one unmatched advantage. Every ship, every pilot, and every plan had been meticulously prepared. Every detail of their tactics accounted for unpredictability and adaptability. Humanity had learned to survive and thrive in impossible situations, and they had brought those lessons to space. Captain Daniel Hayes strode through the corridors of the flagship Resolute, his eyes sharp, scanning the crew as they moved about their duties. He had trained for years for this moment, although no one yet knew the scale of the challenges to come. Around him, young pilots reviewed star charts, engineers ran final systems checks, and communications officers intercepted alien chatter. The human fleet was small but precise, a network of minds and machines acting in perfect unison. Hayes paused before a tactical display, a holographic map of the Virelian sector flickering in pale blue light. "We know they are out there," he said, addressing the senior officers around him. "The reports confirm unusual activity on their frontier worlds. Outposts disappearing, supply lines disrupted. But that is exactly what we expected. Their fleets are slow, rigid, and predictable. They have never faced humans in full force, and when they do, they will learn the truth of human capability." Lieutenant Mara Chen, standing beside him, raised an eyebrow. "Do you think they truly suspect us, Captain?" she asked. Hayes shook his head. "No. They are arrogant, like all civilizations that have never been challenged. They whisper of human power, yes, but they have no understanding of it. That ignorance is their weakness and our advantage." In the quiet of space, the human fleet moved with careful precision. Each ship maintained a strict formation, scanners sweeping the void for any sign of alien detection. It was not the size of the fleet that mattered. It was the coordination, the anticipation of enemy strategies, and the ability to adapt in the moment. Humans had faced stronger opponents on Earth, and they had learned the value of cleverness, courage, and teamwork. Now they carried that legacy into the stars. Meanwhile, on Virelia, the alien intelligence divisions worked frantically to understand the new threat. Scouts had returned with fragmentary reports of small, highly coordinated strike teams that seemed to appear and vanish at will. Systems thought secure were compromised with alarming ease. Alien analysts scratched their heads, unable to comprehend the method behind the attacks. "This cannot be natural," one analyst muttered, staring at the data. "No alien fleet could execute this with such precision. It is intelligent, calculated, and fast." "Humans," another whispered. "It must be them." The council met again, this time with urgency. High Commander Seiler's voice was grim. "If it is indeed humans, we are in danger. Not because they are numerous, but because they are unpredictable. They think differently. They adapt. They overcome." Ambassador Trell finally spoke, his voice tight with unease. "Then what do? We cannot mobilize the entire fleet on rumor alone." Seiler's eyes glinted with determination. "Then we watch. We prepare. And when the humans make their move, we will not be ready. But we must hope our defenses can hold even for a moment, against the storm we cannot yet see." Back on the Resolute, Captain Hayes gathered his officers for a final briefing before the fleet moved into position. The holographic map now displayed the positions of known alien patrols, sensor blind spots, and possible ambush points. "Our orders are simple," Hayes said, his voice firm. "We move quietly. We strike where they least expect it. We protect our fleet at all costs, but we do not fear them. They will underestimate us just as every enemy has, and when they do, we will prove the whispers true, but in ways no one has imagined." The officers nodded, their faces set with determination. Every human on the fleet understood the stakes. They were not only fighting for survival, but for the recognition of their species across the galaxy. As the fleet slipped into the void, a pale light from a distant sun glimmered off the hulls of their ships. Quiet, patient, and precise, they moved like shadows in the night. The galaxy had whispered about human power for centuries, but nothing in the stars could prepare the empires for the fleet that was about to appear. And on Virelia, the High Council watched the void with rising tension, unaware that the very legends they had dismissed were moving silently toward them, ready to rewrite the balance of power in the galaxy. The stage was set. The whispers would soon become reality, and humanity, small but fierce, patient but unstoppable, was about to remind the galaxy why they should never be underestimated. The human fleet moved silently through the empty reaches of space, their sleek ships almost invisible against the backdrop of stars. Captain Daniel Hayes monitored the sensors from the bridge of the Resolute, eyes scanning the endless void. His team worked in perfect synchronization, each officer knowing their role and anticipating the moves of both ally and potential enemy. "Captain," said Lieutenant Marachen, pointing at the display, "sensors have picked up irregular signals near the Zyra Nebula. They aren't large, but the formation is unusual. Could be alien patrols or something more." Hayes leaned closer, studying the data. "Good. That's exactly what we need. They think they are safe. They don't know we are already in their sector." The humans had learned long ago that the key to survival was preparation and patience. Even when outnumbered, clever tactics and teamwork could turn the tide. Every ship in the fleet had been equipped with stealth technology, advanced communication systems, and modular weapons capable of rapid adaptation. But it was not just the hardware that made them formidable. It was the minds behind it. Each human officer and pilot had been trained to think differently, to anticipate moves, to improvise when plans failed. As the fleet drew closer to the Zyra Nebula, they could detect the faint presence of alien ships patrolling the outer edges. The aliens had no idea that the humans were already tracking them, calculating the perfect time and place to strike. "Captain," said Communications Officer Jalen, "we are intercepting chatter. They are coordinating with other patrols, discussing anomalies. They don't know we are here." Hayes nodded. "Then we let them talk. Every word they speak gives us more information. We strike when it benefits us the most. Keep monitoring." On Virelia, panic was starting to spread. High Commander Seiler and his council had gathered again in the Crystal Chamber, reviewing the latest reports from their scouts and intelligence officers. "The humans are here," Seiler said, his multiple eyes narrowing. "Their fleet is moving faster and more precisely than any force we have ever encountered. And they are already within our borders." Ambassador Trell's hands trembled slightly. How is this possible? Our patrols should have detected them long before now. Our sensors are the most advanced in this sector. Siler shook his head. They are unpredictable. They move like shadows, striking where we do not expect. And their tactics, they are clever, coordinated, almost impossible to counter. I warned the Council, yet they did not prepare. From the command center of the human fleet, Hayes was already planning his first move. The aliens had revealed their positions, their patrol paths, and even some of their communication protocols. All that remained was to use the information with precision. Set course for the ambush points, Hayes ordered. Divide the fleet into 3 groups. Group Alpha will engage their scouts. Group Beta will cut off their retreat. Group Gamma will be the reserve, ready to adapt to any unexpected developments. The human ships moved into position silently. Their sensors were tuned to detect even the slightest movement, and their stealth systems ensured they remained nearly invisible. As the aliens patrolled the nebula, they did not realize that humans were already in their midst, observing, calculating, and preparing. The first engagement began when Group Alpha made contact with a small alien scouting fleet near an asteroid belt. The humans struck with speed and precision, disabling communication arrays on 2 alien ships before they could respond. The aliens scrambled, trying to counterattack, but they were already trapped in a carefully orchestrated formation. Captain Hayes watched the display with satisfaction. Excellent. Keep the pressure, but avoid unnecessary risks. We are not here to destroy their entire fleet yet. We are here to teach them that humans cannot be underestimated. The aliens, for the first time, began to realize that they were facing a very different kind of enemy. Their patrols had assumed humans were scattered and weak, easily avoidable. But the humans were coordinated, patient, and intelligent. Every move was calculated, every strike deliberate. Panic began to creep into their ranks. "Report!" shouted one alien commander over the comm system. "Why are we losing control?" "Our patrols. They are being disabled without warning." "What kind of tactics are these?" Another voice trembled. "It's human." "It must be humans, but how? How can so few cause such disruption?" Back on the Resolute, Hayes smiled at the reports. "They still don't understand. That's the advantage we hold. Every time they think they predict us, we have already adapted. Humans survive by thinking ahead, by using what others overlook. And now they are learning the lesson firsthand." As the day wore on, the human fleet continued its careful maneuvers. They did not rush into destruction, but instead focused on gathering intelligence, weakening key targets, and demonstrating that humans were not easily defeated. Alien fleets began to retreat, reorganize, and attempt to regroup, only to find that the humans anticipated every move. By nightfall, the aliens had no choice but to send urgent messages to their command centers, reporting the mysterious, precise attacks that had disrupted their patrols. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. Whispers of human power, once considered legend, were now undeniable. Aliens began questioning their own strategies, doubting whether they had ever truly understood the species they had dismissed for so long. On Viralia, the Council met again. The tension in the chamber was thick. "We underestimated them," Siler admitted, his voice grim. "They are not what we thought. Their fleet is small, yes, but they act with intelligence and coordination we cannot match. Our borders are no longer safe." Ambassador Trell's face was pale. "What do we do? We cannot assemble a full fleet quickly enough to challenge them directly. We may have to negotiate or at least retreat." Siler's multiple eyes glinted with determination. "No, retreat is not an option. But we must be clever. Humans rely on their intellect and adaptability. We must anticipate, predict, and counter. But they are patient, and we are running out of time." Meanwhile, Hayes reviewed the progress reports from all 3 groups. Group Alpha had disabled several alien patrols. Group Beta had effectively cut off their reinforcements. Group Gamma remained on standby, ready to intervene wherever needed. The humans had achieved a significant advantage without exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. "Prepare for the next phase," Hayes ordered. "Tomorrow we push a little further. Test their command ships, their coordination. Show them that the whispers are true, but only hint at the full strength of humanity. Let them feel the fear of underestimating us. That is the lesson they must learn before the fleet fully arrives." As the fleet drifted in the quiet void of space, the human crew remained focused, disciplined, and ready. They were small in number but immense in skill and ingenuity. The galaxy had whispered about human power for centuries, yet none had truly seen it. Soon, those whispers would become a reality that no alien could ignore. The aliens, meanwhile, could only scramble, reacting to moves they barely understood, trying to maintain control over a situation that was slipping from their grasp. And all the while, humans watched and learned, ready for the moment when the full fleet would arrive and demonstrate the true scope of their power. That night, as the stars twinkled quietly in the background, Captain Hayes stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, looking out into the darkness. He knew the challenges ahead would be greater, but humanity had endured worse. Against all odds, humans had survived on Earth, and now, they would prove to the galaxy that even against overwhelming numbers, courage, strategy, and determination could change everything. The whispers were no longer just words. The galaxy would soon witness the fleet that no one could have predicted, the fleet that would remind everyone why humans should never be underestimated. The humans had drawn the aliens into the Zyra Nebula, a place of dense gas clouds and swirling energy. The alien commanders had assumed they could predict human movements, but the humans moved with precision and patience. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Resolute, studying the holographic display. The alien fleet was larger, more numerous, and heavily armed. Yet the humans were not intimidated. They had prepared for this moment for years. "Captain," Lieutenant Mara Chen said, pointing at the display, "the alien fleet is forming a blockade near the central sector. They are expecting us to charge, but they don't realize we control the sensor blind spots inside the nebula." Hayes nodded, his expression calm. "Exactly. We will not attack head-on. Instead, we use the terrain, the nebula itself, and our stealth to strike where they least expect it. Humanity wins not by size, but by strategy." In the alien command ship, High Commander Siler and his generals struggled to maintain order. Reports of small, precise attacks had already caused confusion. Now the humans were moving openly, but still they remained unpredictable. "What is their plan?" demanded one alien admiral. "We have them surrounded. How can they act so freely?" Siler's voice was sharp. "They are not ordinary. They anticipate our moves before we even make them. Every attack, every maneuver is calculated. We must remain vigilant. They are patient. They will wait for the perfect moment to strike." Back on the human side, Hayes split his fleet into specialized groups. Group Alpha, the strike force, would infiltrate the alien blockade and disable key command ships. Group Beta would disrupt supply lines and cut off reinforcements. Group Gamma, the reserve, would remain mobile, ready to adapt to the unfolding battle. Every officer understood their role perfectly. "Prepare for Phase 1, Hayes ordered. "Timing and coordination are everything. Execute exactly as planned." The humans advanced slowly, each ship using the nebula's gas clouds to remain concealed. Sensors were tuned to detect even the faintest energy signatures, ensuring they could avoid detection until the moment of attack. Alien patrols moved cautiously, unaware that humans were already tracking them, learning their formations, and planning the strike. Group Alpha moved first, weaving through asteroid clusters and dense gas pockets. Suddenly, the human ships appeared from the shadows, disabling communication arrays and weapon systems on 2 alien command vessels. The aliens scrambled to respond, but their coordination had been disrupted. "This is it," Hayes said, his voice steady. "Push forward, but maintain discipline. No unnecessary risks. Focus on precision." The alien fleet faltered, shocked by the audacity of the attack. For the first time, they realized that humans were not only clever, but fearless. Their small numbers did not prevent them from striking deep into the enemy formation, dismantling command structures and spreading confusion. High Commander Siler's multiple eyes widened as reports flooded in. "Impossible," he muttered. "They are not just surviving. They are dictating the terms of battle. How can such a small fleet cause this level of disruption?" In the human fleet, Lieutenant Chen monitored the engagement. "Captain, Group Beta has cut off reinforcements from the outer sectors. They have no support. We control the battlefield," Hayes smiled. "Excellent. Now we escalate Phase 2. Show them the scale of human adaptability." The humans had prepared traps within the nebula, using natural energy storms and magnetic fields to disrupt alien sensors. As the aliens tried to regroup, they sailed straight into carefully planned ambush points. Human ships appeared from multiple directions simultaneously, striking critical systems with precision. "This is beyond expectation," an alien admiral said. "Our fleet is falling apart. How?" How can they anticipate every move? Siler's expression darkened. They are not ordinary. Humanity is a force unlike any we have encountered. We must retreat, reorganize, or risk total defeat. But the humans did not press blindly. Hayes maintained careful control over the engagement, ensuring that his fleet was never overextended. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver deliberate. They demonstrated power, intelligence, and patience, leaving the aliens unsettled and off balance. By nightfall in the Zyra Nebula, the aliens had suffered heavy disruption. Command ships were disabled, supply lines were broken, and their fleet coordination had been shattered. The humans had not yet revealed their full strength, but they had made it clear that underestimating humanity was a grave mistake. Captain Hayes called his officers for a status briefing. We have achieved Phase 2 objectives. The aliens are disorganized, their morale shaken. Tomorrow we move to Phase 3. We show them the full extent of human planning and remind them why the whispers of human power are not mere legend. Lieutenant Chen nodded. Captain, they will not be able to predict us. Every time they think they have a strategy, we are already ahead. Exactly, Hayes said. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think differently, because we anticipate. That is why we are dangerous, not because of numbers or size, and that lesson will become clear very soon. On Virelia, the High Council convened once more. Panic and frustration filled the chamber. Our fleet, our command ships. Everything is disrupted, admitted Ambassador Trell. The humans, they are extraordinary. Siler's voice was firm. We underestimated them for too long. They are not primitive. They are intelligent, patient, and relentless. If we hope to survive, we must rethink everything. Every strategy, every fleet deployment, every tactic must consider human unpredictability. In the human fleet, the crew remained calm, disciplined, and ready for the next phase. The first engagement had succeeded, but it was only the beginning. The aliens had learned that humans were not ordinary, but they had not yet seen the full scope of human capability. As the stars shimmered outside the fleet's observation windows, Captain Hayes looked at the horizon of the nebula. He knew that the battles to come would be challenging, but humanity had overcome worse on Earth. Every human in the fleet carried that legacy, a history of survival, courage, and cleverness. The whispers of human power were no longer distant rumors. They were reality, unfolding in the Zyra Nebula with precision, patience, and intelligence. The aliens had faced many foes across the galaxy, but none like humanity. And as the night stretched on, the humans prepared for the decisive phase that would demonstrate the full scale of their strength, not just in battle, but in strategy, unity, and adaptability. The first confrontation had ended in success, but it had also changed the perception of humanity forever. Across alien space, commanders began questioning everything they had assumed about humans. They were clever, adaptable, and fearless. They moved as a single coordinated force while remaining flexible. And they were only beginning to show what they could do. Captain Hayes knew that tomorrow would bring even greater challenges. The aliens would attempt to counter, to regroup, to strike back with numbers and firepower. But the humans had already proven that size was not everything. Intelligence, strategy, and the courage to act decisively were the true strengths of humanity. As the human fleet rested in stealth positions for the night, the crew reflected on the battle. They had proven themselves, but they knew the galaxy had more tests in store. Yet there was confidence among them, a quiet certainty that humans, small in number but vast in potential, could survive and even thrive against any challenge. The whispers that had haunted alien leaders for generations were no longer just words. They were the beginning of a new reality. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy not as a minor species, but as a force to be reckoned with. The fleet that appeared in the Zyra Nebula had shown the first glimpse of that power, and the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy had begun to take notice. Reports of the human fleet's clever maneuvers and victories had spread across countless systems, whispered in the halls of alien councils and broadcast in secret channels. No longer were humans seen as a minor scattered species. Across the stars, civilizations began to understand that humans were different. They were patient, intelligent, and unpredictable, capable of turning even impossible situations to their advantage. On Virelia, High Commander Sylar paced in the crystal chamber of the High Council. His multiple eyes scanned the room as he listened to new intelligence reports. Alien scouts had barely survived encounters with human strike teams, returning with stories that seemed almost unbelievable. "They are everywhere," muttered Admiral Talek, his voice tight. "Our patrols cannot keep up. Every sector we believe secure has been touched by human action. And their tactics, they are unlike anything we have studied. They strike precisely, disappear, and leave confusion in their wake." Siler nodded. "They are intelligent, adaptive. We underestimated them, and that mistake has cost us control. But it is not too late. We must learn from them, or the consequences will be catastrophic." Meanwhile, Captain Daniel Hayes continued to oversee the human fleet from the bridge of the Resolute. Unlike the aliens, the humans understood the value of patience and subtle influence. They were not merely focused on defeating enemy ships. They aimed to reshape the galaxy's perception of humanity, demonstrating that intelligence, courage, and unity could surpass even the largest fleets. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Chen, pointing to a holographic display of intercepted communications, "diplomatic envoys from several alien civilizations are contacting us. They want to negotiate alliances. Some even offer resources in exchange for protection or cooperation. They've realized humans are not to be underestimated." Hayes smiled. "Good, but we will not rush into treaties. We show strength, yes, but we choose carefully when to form alliances. The galaxy must understand that humanity is both strong and deliberate. We will act only when it benefits our people." The first diplomats arrived aboard the Resolute the next day. Small delegations from 3 different alien species, each representing significant territories, were escorted to the human flagship. They marveled at the efficiency of the human fleet, the organization of the crew, and the calm determination of Captain Hayes. One diplomat, a slender, blue-skinned being named Velrix, stepped forward. "We have heard whispers, but seeing you and your fleet in action is unlike anything we imagined. Humans are extraordinary." Hayes nodded respectfully. "We are simply prepared. Our species has endured great challenges on our homeworld. We apply those lessons here in space. The galaxy is larger than any one of us, and cooperation can be as powerful as conflict, but we will never be underestimated." Velrix looked at the fleet with awe. "Your actions have already saved lives, prevented conflicts, and demonstrated that you are capable of far more than anyone believed. We wish to learn from you and perhaps to work with you." Over the next several weeks, the human fleet continued to demonstrate its power. Small, strategic strikes against alien patrols and supply lines caused minimal destruction, but maximum disruption, leaving alien commanders frustrated and cautious. Every move by humans was calculated to show strength without unnecessary violence, to gain attention and respect rather than fear alone. Captain Hayes used this opportunity to expand humanity's influence. "We must be careful," he told his officers. "Our victories are impressive, but if we overreach, we risk unnecessary conflict. Every strike, every maneuver must remind the galaxy of human intelligence and adaptability, not recklessness. That is our true power." The aliens began to realize that humans were not just tactical, they were diplomatic as well. Across several star systems, alien species that had once competed fiercely now approached humans with offers of alliance, trade, and cooperation. They had recognized that humans could not be predicted, that their ingenuity was unparalleled, and that working with them offered far more advantage than trying to resist. On Virelia, the council was in disarray. Alien commanders argued over how to respond. "They have no respect for our strength," complained Admiral Talek. "They act as if we are children. They disrupt our fleets, outmaneuver us at every turn, and now they have alien allies joining them voluntarily. How is this possible?" High Commander Siler's voice cut through the tension. "It is possible because we underestimated them. Humanity has learned to survive, to adapt, to unite in ways we cannot fully comprehend. And now, they are showing us that influence and strategy can be more powerful than raw numbers. We face a threat not just to our fleets, but to the assumptions we have made about power itself." Back on the human flagship, Hayes reviewed the reports. The galaxy was shifting. Alliances were forming in response to human influence, and alien leaders who had once dismissed humanity were now cautious, respectful, and in some cases, eager to cooperate. "This is exactly what we hope to achieve," Hayes said to Lieutenant Chen. "Not just battlefield success, but a reputation that precedes us. The whispers of human power are no longer rumors, they are a known fact. And as we expand our presence, more will see that humans are patient, intelligent, and adaptable. That knowledge changes everything. The humans also faced new challenges. Some alien factions resisted, refusing to negotiate or acknowledge human achievements. These groups launched small attacks on human fleets and colonies, testing their strength. But the humans, trained in patience and strategy, responded with careful precision, neutralizing threats without unnecessary destruction. Each victory demonstrated both capability and restraint. In one engagement, a fleet of alien raiders attempted to intercept human supply convoys. Group Alpha, led by Hayes' most skilled pilots, intercepted the raiders using clever maneuvers and minimal force. The raiders' communication systems were disabled, their ships immobilized, and they were left with no choice but to retreat. Another lesson learned, Hayes told his officers. We do not fight recklessly, but we will not allow attacks on our people. Our strength lies in our discipline, our intelligence, and our ability to anticipate. That is what makes humans formidable. Word of the engagement spread quickly across alien networks. More civilizations began to send envoys to humans, eager to learn their methods, to ally with them, or simply to observe their fleet in action. Humanity's reputation grew rapidly, and whispers of their power transformed into respect, curiosity, and even admiration. On Virelia, the Council struggled to contain the growing influence of humans. Some argued for renewed aggression, while others suggested negotiation. We cannot defeat them directly, admitted Admiral Talek, and their influence is spreading faster than we can respond. What do we do? Siler's voice was calm but firm. We watch, we learn, and we prepare. Humans are intelligent, patient, and relentless. We have seen what happens when we underestimate them. We must anticipate their next moves, or we risk losing more than battles. We risk losing our place in the galaxy. Meanwhile, humans continued their careful expansion. They established secure bases and neutral systems, coordinated with willing alien factions, and maintained a fleet ready for both defense and strategic operations. Every move reinforced the lesson that humans were not to be underestimated. By the end of the month, the galaxy had changed. Humans had not conquered with force, but with intelligence, strategy, and restraint. The whispers of human power had transformed into undeniable reality. Alien leaders recognized that humanity was patient, clever, and capable of achieving influence far beyond what numbers or firepower alone could accomplish. Captain Hayes stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, looking out at the stars. He knew the challenges ahead would be even greater. Some alien factions still resisted. Some were wary, suspicious, or hostile, but humanity had proven its potential. The whispers of the past had become the reputation of the present, and the galaxy was watching closely. The whispers are no longer just stories, Hayes said quietly to Lieutenant Chen. They are proof. Humanity survives, adapts, and thrives, and soon the galaxy will see the full scale of our power. Lieutenant Chen smiled. We have shown them what humans can do. But I think they still don't realize just how far we are willing to go to protect our people and our allies. Exactly, Hayes said. They will learn when the time comes. And when they do, nothing will be the same. The galaxy is changing, and humans are leading that change. Not with force alone, but with strategy, intelligence, and determination. As the stars sparkled beyond the hull of the Resolute, the human fleet rested, disciplined, and ready. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new encounters, and perhaps new confrontations. But for now, humanity had achieved a victory unlike any the galaxy had seen. A victory not measured in ships destroyed, but in respect earned, influence gained, and the undeniable proof that humans were a force to be reckoned with. The whispers of human power had become a reality that even the most confident alien leaders could not ignore. And as the fleet drifted through the quiet of space, every human knew one truth. Their species was no longer underestimated. The galaxy waited, holding its breath. Across star systems, reports of human strategy, intelligence, and adaptability had spread like wildfire. Civilizations once dismissive of humanity now observed carefully, wondering what this small but formidable species would do next. Humanity's reputation had grown steadily, but Captain Daniel Hayes knew that the final demonstration of their power was yet to come. On the bridge of the Resolute, Hayes gathered his senior officers. We've shown intelligence, patience, and precision. We've disrupted fleets, built alliances, and earned respect. Now it's time for humanity to show what it can do when fully committed. The galaxy must understand that humans are capable of far more than whispers or rumors could ever suggest. Lieutenant Mara Chen nodded. The alien forces still hold major systems. Some are preparing to retaliate and others are hesitant to engage. This is our opportunity, Captain. If we act carefully, we can change the balance of power forever. Hayes studied the holographic map. Alien fleets had regrouped in key sectors, consolidating command ships, supply lines, and reinforcements. But even in their largest formations, they were scattered, rigid, and predictable compared to the adaptability of humans. Divide the fleet into 4 groups, Hayes ordered. Group Alpha and Beta will strike at their command centers. Group Gamma will protect our supply routes and allies. Group Delta will remain mobile, ready to respond wherever needed. Timing, coordination, and intelligence will determine the outcome. Remember, we fight smart, not recklessly. As the human fleet moved toward the alien strongholds, alien commanders received unsettling reports. Systems once considered secure were now under observation, and minor disruptions continued to accumulate. Panic spread among some fleets as they realized that humans were not acting randomly. They were always one step ahead. High Commander Seiler convened his generals. "We cannot allow them to reach the central sectors," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "They anticipate our every move. Their strikes are precise, calculated, and coordinated. We must respond with force, but also with strategy. Underestimating them has already cost us dearly." Despite their numbers, the aliens struggled to maintain control. The humans' previous engagements had taught them to expect the unexpected, and that unpredictability was already shaping the conflict. Captain Hayes activated the fleet stealth systems as they approached the first major target, a heavily defended alien command hub near the Helion cluster. Using the natural interference of nearby magnetic storms, human ships moved undetected, slipping past outer defenses. Phase 1 complete, Hayes said calmly. Group Alpha engage the command hub, disable their communications, disrupt their fleet coordination, but avoid unnecessary destruction. Group Beta, prepare for reinforcement interception. Group Gamma, remain on standby. The strike was swift and precise. Human ships disabled the alien command hub's core systems, leaving the fleet in chaos. Alien communications were jammed, their command structure temporarily paralyzed. For the first time, the alien fleets had no coordinated response. "Status report," demanded one alien admiral, panic rising in his voice. How can they strike so efficiently? Our defenses. They are gone. They are humans, another whispered. And they are unlike any species we have faced. They do not fight as we do. They think differently, act differently. Their power, it is extraordinary. Back aboard the Resolute, Hayes monitored the engagement. Excellent. Group Delta, move in. Exploit the confusion, secure positions, and demonstrate that humans are both disciplined and adaptable. Show them what the fleet can do when fully coordinated. The humans struck from multiple directions using tactics that alien commanders could not anticipate. Ships disabled key energy nodes, neutralized reinforcements, and secured strategic points across the sector. Every move was precise, every action deliberate, and every success amplified their growing reputation. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched the unfolding events in disbelief. Fleets that had once been considered dominant were disorganized and demoralized. Command centers were in chaos, and everywhere the same truth became clear. Humans were not only capable but extraordinary. On Virelia, the High Council met again, tension filling the chamber. Their fleet. "It cannot be stopped," Admiral Talek admitted. "Our numbers, our firepower, everything. They are outmaneuvering us. How is this possible?" Seiler's eyes, wide with concern, reflected the weight of the truth. "They are not just skilled. They are patient, intelligent, and relentless. They anticipate our moves, exploit weaknesses, and maintain discipline when others would panic. Humanity is not a minor species. They are a force in the galaxy." Meanwhile, the humans continued their operation. With the alien fleets disrupted, Hayes coordinated a demonstration of humanity's full strategic capability. Using a combination of stealth, intelligence, and tactical precision, the humans disabled key weapon platforms and supply hubs across multiple systems, ensuring that alien fleets could not regroup effectively. "Our goal is not total destruction," Hayes reminded his officers. "It is to show the galaxy what humans can do, to establish respect, and to ensure that any future conflicts are approached with caution. Strength is more than firepower. It is discipline, intelligence, and strategy. That is what makes humans formidable. In one final maneuver, the human fleet executed a coordinated encirclement of the remaining alien command ships. Using the nebula's natural interference and precise timing, they immobilized the alien fleet, demonstrating both tactical brilliance and restraint. The aliens, for the first time, were forced to acknowledge their limitations. High Commander Siler's voice, usually so commanding, was filled with rare humility. We have underestimated them for too long. We cannot defeat them by force alone. They are clever, patient, and adaptable. Their power, it is undeniable. We must rethink everything. Captain Hayes allowed the fleet a moment of calm. The humans had not only achieved victory but had reshaped the galaxy's perception of their species. Alien leaders were no longer dismissive. They were respectful, cautious, and even eager to engage diplomatically. Humanity had proven that intelligence, coordination, and courage could rival the greatest forces in the galaxy. As the human fleet regrouped, alliances with willing alien factions strengthened. Systems once hostile now offered support, eager to align with a species that had demonstrated both capability and restraint. Humanity's influence expanded, not through conquest alone, but through proof of skill, strategy, and foresight. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen said quietly, "we've shown them what humans can do, but I think the galaxy is just beginning to understand our potential. There will be more challenges, but I believe we are ready." Hayes nodded. "Exactly. Today we demonstrated that humans are a force to be reckoned with, not just through ships or weapons, but through intelligence, patience, and unity. Tomorrow the galaxy will remember that humanity cannot be underestimated." As the stars twinkled beyond the hull of the Resolute, the fleet drifted in quiet triumph. They had completed the mission without unnecessary destruction, achieved strategic victories, and reshaped the galaxy's perception of human power. The whispers that had once questioned humanity's potential had become undeniable reality. In the weeks that followed, alien civilizations adjusted their strategies, acknowledging the lessons learned from the human fleet. Diplomatic missions, trade agreements, and alliances spread across systems that had once ignored or dismissed humanity. Whispers of fear turned into admiration, and admiration into cooperation. Captain Hayes stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy not as a minor player, but as a species that combined courage, intelligence, and strategy. They had faced the greatest fleets, disrupted the strongest empires, and emerged respected and feared, not through raw power alone, but through the clever application of mind and will. "The whispers were true," Hayes said softly to Lieutenant Chen. "But they didn't know the full story. They never expected a species capable of patience, adaptation, and unity. Humans have survived impossible odds before, and now the galaxy sees why." Lieutenant Chen smiled. "We've proven that numbers alone do not determine strength. Strategy, discipline, and intelligence can overcome any challenge, and the galaxy will not forget it." Hayes nodded. "Exactly. The fleet has shown its power, but the real victory is that humanity is no longer underestimated. We have earned our place not through conquest, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. That is our true legacy, and it will shape the galaxy for generations to come." As the human fleet sailed quietly through the stars, the galaxy finally understood. Humans were not to be ignored, underestimated, or dismissed. They were a species that survived, adapted, and thrived against all odds. The whispers of human power had become undeniable reality, and the galaxy would never be the same again.